Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome back to our watch club for Marvel's Miss Marvel. Good is not a thing you are, Kamala. It is a thing you do. Welcome back to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and this is our Watch Club for Miss Marvel, Episode 3, titled Destined, directed by Meera Menon. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and the MCU in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode yet, be sure to do so, and then come right back in a snap. Now, before Kamala pulls the fire alarm on us, let me introduce you to my cosmic bestie joining me today, fresh, back from the red carpet Obi-Wan finale event. And he's also just recently watched a movie that we can't say yet, but I'm super jelly. We have my cosmic brother from another universe's mother. He's the dastardly, daring, and deadly deviant Darcy Hudson.
Thanks for having me back here, man.
Dude, I think we could add Jin to that list now.
Yep,
I think,
it starts with a D technically, right? So alliteration works.
Perfect. Yeah, man. How are you doing? How's you've had a pretty crazy couple of nights.
Yes, it's been a very, very busy week for me, and I just think like you said, the Obi-Wan finale the other night, and then the movie tonight, both great, both really, really cool experiences. I can't wait to talk about them more on maybe other episodes.
Very cool. And we love that you are, I mean, I think we can kind of say it at this point. You're kind of becoming a staple here on the Geekcentric podcast. We're getting you on more and more and more.
Official now, official Geekcentric member instead of just Kevin's brother.
Instead of just Kevin's brother. That's right. Yeah, man. I'm stoked to have you on more content. And I mean, listen, you're the first person we've ever gotten where fans have come up to me and have said, listen, we need more of that Darcy guy talking comic book stuff. So I'm happy to have you on for another Miss Marvel episode. I want to ask, before we kind of dive in, obviously, you know, this episode is focusing on Taisha and Amir's wedding. I got to start off by asking, have you ever had, do you have any crazy wedding stories?
Not really. I'm pretty laid back. I'm a shy guy. I don't like being the center of attention. So I more am a wallflower in weddings, but every wedding I've been to has been a blast. Kevin and Sarah's being the most recent in Disney was a time to remember. I don't think any other wedding you'll be able to dance with Mickey and Minnie at. I think that was definitely the most memorable wedding moment I can think of right now.
But even leading up to the wedding though, which I got the opportunity to be a part of, and I got to
you emceed, man. You were the master of ceremonies with your
I got to be the master of ceremonies. Yes, and I gotta say though, I heard there was some debauchery going on. I don't know if it was leading up to the wedding or if it was shortly after the wedding. Do you remember? There was something about Kevin waking up in a swimming pool, or someone was waking up in a swimming pool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was more Kevin and Sarah. Sarah had a bad reaction to too many fruity drinks and some shellfish.
Yeah,
and then Kevin. Also having a very good time, had to then try and take care of her. So that was apparently a horror ordeal right before they left for their honeymoon the day after. So yeah, that whole week trip was definitely something to remember for various reasons.
Well, thankfully we didn't have a bunch of gin rolling in to ruin the wedding, and we were able to have such a wonderful time there. But yeah, man, let's before we get sort of a way too close to the FaceTime call from Nani, let's get into this week's episode. We start off this week with a flashback to 1942 British-occupied India, which is 5 years before the partition, if we're keeping count, where Najma and her group are digging through a bunch of rubble inside some ancient ruins. They come across a bangle on a blue severed arm. And then Aisha appears, who we thought could have been Najma in the last episode of Watch Club. We were like, maybe they're the same person. They're not, and that's confirmed here. And she says that the man from the temple said they'd need 2 bangles. Faria here assumes that the second one has been looted by the British, who have now become aware of their presence and start to destroy the ruins even more. And Najma orders everyone to escape. Aisha puts the bangle on and says they have to see what it can do, and she gets the purple glowy eyes. And as the cave crumbles, Najma says that she can't let the bangle fall into the hands of the British. Aisha promises to keep it safe, and they part ways. So, Darcy, some pretty huge reveals here in this opening scene. We got confirmation that, yes, there are 2 bangles. We see the 10 Rings logo on the floor of the ruins, and that severed arm where they pull the bangle from is blue. Does this spark any crazy, wild thoughts for you?
Well, first off, you brought up the 2 bangles. Definitely either quantum bands or nega bands or something where there is a pair of them in the comics. So definitely related to that for sure.
And do you think that they are do you think the MCU is adapting it more than they are actually utilizing that, or do you think they're really gonna call them the nega bands at some point?
See, I don't know if they call them that. Again, I feel like it might be more along the quantum route that is more associated with Captain Marvel's powers, and even Spectrum's powers are on the quantum side of things. So if they might go that route, but again, I feel like you said they're more like adapting them for the screen and kind of changing the story behind them. So they may not even per se call them that, but they're definitely the MCU's version or allusion to those existing in the comics for sure.
Interesting.
And going forward, sorry, you also mentioned the 10 Rings logo, and I feel like that again just solidifies the spread and the power that the 10 Rings had under the Mandarin's control. So that was a really cool thing to see.
It was so crazy. I think, like, I gotta just say, obviously, I really do think that the man from at the temple that they're referring to could possibly be Wenwu himself from Shang-Chi. I think it's very possible because he would have been around at the same time. His goal was to take over as many empires as possible, and so maybe he was using them to either try to get the bangle himself, or to try to find it to destroy it. I don't know. Like if he came across a group of powerful Jinn, but he's already got the rings. I'm wondering what that sort of power dynamic would have been, and maybe he would have been able to sort of convince them to say, "Hey, listen, I got these powerful rings. There's something else in those ruins over there. Go ahead over there and go grab them for me." What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they, like, again, his are clearly extraterrestrial or extra dimensional even in origin, his 10 rings. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sees this other item from another universe as another potential power source that he could use to solidify his reign. So I definitely, clearly that was his intent almost. If he had it under his control at one point, maybe it was too powerful and just leave it locked away. I think the big thing to take away, though, was, again, that blue arm. If we're trying to look for a connection between Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, the Kree would be an easy route with that blue arm, like just showing up there. So also thought it was weird how they never, talked about how it was a blue arm. So clearly they have encountered these beings before and have had interactions or ongoings with them. So it's definitely questions.
I saw some theories online of some people saying that, maybe it was another Jinn that was wearing it prior, and obviously in the more Western side of the understanding of genies, we've seen them in blue primarily, thanks to Aladdin. But I do think that I do really agree with you. I think it is Kree. I think with Secret Invasion coming up, I think they're getting us ready for a big Kree attack. And I think, based on how the Bengals are glowing blue, in the same way that I think we saw the rings at some points glow blue, at other times
blue
orange.
For sure, yeah.
They gotta be. Maybe it's ancient Kree technology. Maybe it's because Miss Marvel wouldn't have known, or sorry, Captain Marvel wouldn't have known about the ancient technology. I think she says in the end credit scene of Shang-Chi, she's like, it's nothing I've ever seen. But like, she's not been around as long as maybe these items have. I don't know.
Yeah, she's a human. She had a human lifespan up until the point where she got lost in space. And even then it was only another, 30, 40 years type thing. So she definitely doesn't have enough history with the Kree or even when she, woke up from her or got all her memories back, she hadn't been with them very long. I don't see them telling her all their little secrets because, again, they're a very widespread empire, and they obviously have their secrets that they want to keep. So they wouldn't be telling their random grunt that is a human infused with this power about all their secrets.
Right.
So
interesting. I do think there's one last kind of really interesting thing that I did see, which is that Faria actually picks up a helmet right at the beginning. And if you look closely, and I had to Google image search, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the same helmet that the army of Wenwu wears at the very beginning of Shang-Chi. We actually see it's got a very similar ornamentation with a little tip on the top, right?
I thought at first maybe Nova helmet, but again, I don't feel like that would be their Easter egg or introduction of a Nova at this time. So that Wenwu thing again, it builds, it has connections, especially with those rings of his. So
that'd be so cool. That would be so. I really want to see. I mean, we saw on Disney's Instagram, they showed at the parks at Avengers Campus. They showed Shang-Chi and Miss Marvel hanging out together, and they put their arms together. And I'm like, are you trying to tell us something, Disney? What are you doing over here? Anyways, let's get to present day, where we learn, along with Kamala, that Aisha and the rest of the group are from another dimension. The last time they saw Aisha was the night in the ruins. They searched for her, but they assumed she was lost during the partition. They've been around for 100 years, except for Kamran, who it's revealed by Najma that he thinks that Kamala is adorable, which was an awesome moment. He's like, no, what? No, it's so awkward. Najma and Kamala move to the living room, and Najma mentions that they sense the presence of Noor, which is another word for light, and that's what led them to Kamala. She mentions it slows down their aging, and that they're unable to get access to it, but maybe Kamala, who was born in this dimension, can access it, and maybe that's why she can access it, which also she kind of hints at the idea that maybe Kamran might be able to access it as well. Which,
under the same reasoning, he would stand to be able to use them as well. So,
right, and we know from the comics that he uses the power of light. So I think that's a great adaptation if that's where they're going with it. They need to get home using the bangles power, which would, she says would fulfill Aisha's wish. I don't know if that's exactly what Aisha wants, but their home dimension is the Noor dimension, and while they call themselves the clandestines, others know them most commonly as Jinn. And Kamala's like freaking out. She's like, genies, Jinn, they're real, oh my gosh. And she's like, I'm a Jinn too. Kamala the next day explains all this to Bruno, and I love the joke with gin and tonic. I thought that was just too perfect. Bruno's fantastic. He deserves so much more than he's getting. And he says he'll look into kind of what she's talking about in terms of, he says it reminds him of a paper that he's read. And Kamala tells him to reread that paper as she picks up some stuff for the Mendy. And Bruno lets her know just before she leaves, hey, she's trending. And he shows her footage on TikTok of the boy that she sort of rescued last week, not fully rescued. So, Darcy, with the reveal that Najma and the Clandestines, which, by the way, sounds like a dope band name, Najma and the Clandestines.
Band. Yeah, like an indie band.
Right?
Yeah.
Like really indie. We learn that they're from the Noor dimension. I have to ask, have we already seen the Noor dimension? Is this the same place that we saw in episode 1 when Kamala first put the bangle on? And what do you think of the fact that we're getting even more characters introduced to the MCU who are over 100 years old?
I just like the fact that that's establishing that not like humans are probably the shortest lifespan in the universe. So we are still young in both our planet's history as well as just no matter how old we get, we'll never be the oldest thing around. So I think that's really cool in establishing that fact that, there are races out there that last for a while. I also like the route they're going with this whole Jinn genie thing. It's a very unique twist on the kind of like the inhuman lore that is present in the comics for Kamala. So it's very cool to see, again, how she explained like they're the boogeymen of she was growing up. Those are the demons or the bad people in all the stories. So rightfully so, she's a bit worried. And I don't know. I think it's really cool. I also think that you said that it's what they said that it's what Aisha would have wanted, and probably not. I mean, in the 5 years that had happened after that cave-in, she clearly met someone, fell in love, and had a child. So something must have changed along the lines for her to be like, maybe I don't need to get home. Maybe this is my home. So I feel like, again, with what comes later on in this episode, we'll definitely be leading towards fighting for home, which I think is really neat.
Totally. And it seems that, the MCU seems to be running this trend, and we're getting a lot of trends, again, leading into these different storylines. And it's funny how after each sort of, grouping of groups of characters, like we kind of see more and more into what's going on in terms of like where we can pull from the comic books, the whole things with the incursions from Doctor Strange, and now this idea of we get yet another group of characters who are living longer than 100 years. They don't age. We started off with Wenwu from Shang-Chi, then the Eternals, and now the Clandestines. So obviously all this is connected. I know it's Marvel, but I think, that ending with Shang-Chi, with Captain Marvel, that's got to be how we connect Captain Marvel to Kamala. And I think the Bangles are also a beacon. And I'm wondering if it's possible, again, if this is Kree technology or ancient Kree technology, maybe it's calling the Kree. Maybe that's who it's alerting. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting, because also maybe, they're talking about later on they talk about how they need a lot of power to do this, and if we know anything about the Kree tech, is that they are some of the strongest and most formidable empire out there. So of course they'd have power to do these crazy things. So yeah, definitely an option. Again, there are so many doors that could potentially be open from this one setup already. Marvel is very good at doing that, being like there are infinite possibilities, and it's fun to wonder what could be next. So it's doing a really good job at that, in my opinion.
And you caught the name of the author of the paper that Bruno was reading? Did you hear what he said?
I feel like I did. It's slipping my memory right now. Again, I'm coming off of another thing that's a bit fresher in my mind. So
totally, yeah. But he calls out Eric Selvig.
That's it. Right.
As the author, which is so dope. Obviously from the Thor movies, and we know that he was investigating multiverses. So obviously that's kind of where that plays in. Again, Marvel's just so good at tying it all together. And I also want to, speaking of tying it together with the comic books, and I love that I'm sitting with you here on this podcast, because usually you're the one that goes straight for like from the comic books references, and you'll continue to do so because that's what we pay you for. We don't pay you, but I love that in the comic books, this story of these Jinn from another dimension trying to get home is very similar to another storyline from 2019, where we had the G. Willow Wilson comics that led up to the 2019 ones by Saladin Ahmed, who actually named Volume 1 of his comic series Destined, which is the name of this episode. And in that comic book, there's a bunch of interdimensional travelers who call upon Kamala to help them get home and save their planet, called Safa. They refer to her as the Sword of Safa. And it's just so cool how they keep sort of bringing stuff in. They're adapting it at the same time, and they're still honoring those comics with the titles of these episodes. And check this out. If you pause the episode at a certain moment that we haven't gotten to in the Watch Club yet here, but where Kamala is texting with Kamran in her room, you'll actually see a QR code in the background, a la what they were doing for Moon Knight. I missed the first few QR codes, so if you have seen them and you're listening to this, write in. I'd love to know what those were all about. But for this QR code, when you scan it, it takes you to that first issue of that 2019 run of the Destined, the volume with everything I was just talking about. It's crazy.
Cool. I mean,
it's really cool.
I only read the G. Willow Wilson run of Miss Marvel, so by all means, please drop those bombs on me, because I love being on the other side of finding out some of this connections to the comics. So,
dude, please. And it's funny because I literally started like reading that on my lunch break today.
What a coincidence! That's awesome,
right? And then I was like, wait a second. I was like, oh, I gotta tell Darcy.
Wicked.
And the last thing I want to notice, just really quick, little fun thing that I noticed was one of the, I can't remember his name. Might have been Salim or Adam, one of them, the guy that's wearing the tracksuit. He's walking in and he's singing popcorn, popcorn as he enters the room. And he's obviously watching Zoe Zimmer's YouTube channel. I don't know. I thought that was really, and especially with Faria just being like, this guy always finds the dumbest parts
you immediately are just like, oh, what a sleazeball. I don't like this guy.
Yeah. Popcorn. Oh my gosh. Fantastic. Now, let's keep going here. Because of the moments from last week because we see them trending on TikTok, the DODC pull up to the mosque where Agent Deaver does not respect her surroundings like she was told. She rudely rushes into the mosque with her shoes on, and she tries to initiate a search, but she's stopped by Sheikh Abdullah and Nakia, who, by the way, can I just really quickly say, Nakia and Nakia we have now two characters with the same spelling but different pronunciations. And I kept calling Nakia in the previous Watch Clubs. So I'm going to really focus on just trying to say Nakia, so I don't get it confused. So after admitting her legal knowledge comes from Law and Order, she tells them to, they need a warrant and they need to leave. And I love how Sheikh Abdullah tells Deaver she needs to take her shoes off next time she enters. Such a badass.
Oh yeah.
Back with Kamala, Nakia enters her room and flops on the bed. And I love when Kamala's like, "What's wrong, Squishy?" Frustrated by, she's frustrated by Nightlight. She's frustrated by the fact that Damage Control had to come into the mosque, completely ruining the election result meeting where she became a board member. Kamala, who at first is a little bit too obsessed with her new social media popularity to even hear what she's saying, eventually hears what she's saying, and the two share a huge hug, and they get changed for the Mendi. Now, during the Mendi, we get a sweet moment with Sheikh Abdullah, followed by Kamala opening her new mask from Bruno. What do you think of the mask? Obviously, it's the first part of her costume, her official costume.
I think it's awesome. I also like that the line that you open the episode with, where good isn't something you are, it's something you do. It feels almost very much like a Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Like one of those sayings that she'll constantly fall back to when she's trying to figure out what to do next in her life as a superhero. So I love that moment. I think it was really cool. Yeah. I also really like Nakia's take on it. I mean, like the whole Nightlight situation, how it's almost another thing that is unfairly being put on their society just because of one person. So I thought it was really cool to explore that route, because obviously some people would be against it and see her as a menace. So
totally, and I think that fits with the idea of a modern day Spider-Man, just like Peter Parker struggles with his, back and forth. In the comic books, we see Kamala struggle with it huge, to the point where it affects friendships. It ruins friendships for her in some cases. So, man, I think we're definitely going to explore that, and I love that. I love that call out of sort of bringing it back to with great power comes.
As soon as I heard it, it had that same feel to me. I'm like, oh, that's an important line. That's something that when she's at like a very crucial decision, that's something she'll hear in the back of her head, and that'll push her to do the right thing. So again, so good. Really, really cool line. I think that's the highlight quote from the series so far for me, because I really enjoy it.
Yeah, man, that's like tattoo worthy at some point, maybe. I don't know. We'll see you got a bunch of tattoos already. Maybe may not be any room, but then we get to learn about the clandestines thanks to Yusuf's bad snacking habits, and Bruno asks him to translate some Urdu Bruno doesn't ask him actually. He comes in and he's like, "Oh, let me see those papers. Let me translate that for you." I love their relationship. I think they're so awesome together.
It's like it's a son he never had type thing. He is so close to Bruno, and I love that relationship.
That's so cute. He says that they are supernatural beings of pre-Islamic folklore. He goes on to say the jinn have been called by many different names in different times and different cultures. Some call them genies, while others believe that they are demons. There is a legend about a group of hidden jinn who have been exiled from their realm. This group of jinn are damned to live the rest of their lives in the human world. According to the legend, these jinns are discreetly searching for a key that will help them return to their realm. But to unlock that ancient barrier, they will need a primordial power, which Bruno explains to Kamala in the next scene is equivalent to the base energy of the sun. So Darcy, I guess I would ask, I guess it was Aisha that technically would have damned them to live out their days on Earth,
or Aisha was also exiled as well. I think the group as a whole were exiled, and then it was Aisha who realized we may as well make this place home. They didn't want us there. Why not stay here? Type thing.
So clearly it was Mephisto that exiled them. Is that what you're saying?
Everything comes back to Mephisto, man.
I'm just saying they're called demons. They said demons.
There are multiple types of lore. With the upcoming movie of, the God Butcher's exploits. We know that there are multiple lores within this universe. So, one demon is not the same as the next demon, is all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. Well, I like to keep the dream alive that Mephisto might have had something to do with it.
We'll get him eventually. Don't worry. And it'll be all the more worth it once it happens.
And I gotta say, I love how nonchalant Yusuf leaves Bruno after that conversation. He's just like, okay, bye. And he just starts munching on his mini pie. And I'm like, this, again, it's just so funny that he's just like, oh, I'll help you with this, like, scary, like, deep lore stuff. And then he's like, okay, bye. And the moment that Bruno mentioned base power of the sun, something made me think of Captain Marvel. I'm like, is she going to show up? Is she going to stop, the terrible thing that Bruno says might happen? Because, like, is she as powerful as the base power of the sun?
Yes, she is. Right? I think it's been established. I mean, that Miss Marvel herself, summed it up perfectly with the opening of the series about how she came in and just seriously messed up Thanos' fleet. So she definitely has the power equivalent to a sun. So I never thought of it that route. That would be interesting if she comes in to contain a blast, because that's what she does.
Yeah.
Very cool. Again, you keep coming up with all these theories that make me really smile. So keep them coming, man.
I'm just saying. I'm like, I'm watching this. I'm taking my notes. I think this is the most connected to a character that I've been going into one of these live action series because of the comic books. And I highly, highly recommend, like, I'm already starting to, like, look up, like, what are the best She-Hulk comics to get into.
She-Hulk is great.
I already asked you about, like the Mighty Thor with Jane Foster, looking into that. So I've already started, like, kind of dabbling in that a little bit. So with that stuff coming up, I highly recommend for anyone listening, if you're not already diving into the comics ahead of time, I would say go for it. I think Marvel is doing a good enough job of adapting and not directly pulling that I don't think it does spoil too much, because I'm still on my toes with this series, and I think, even though I've read, like, a lot of it, so really cool stuff. All right, so then we get to, like, the sweetest parts of the episode. First, Kamala and her mom share a lovely moment, followed by Kamala witnessing pretty much the same advice given to her brother Amir as he worries about his finances leading up to the wedding. And I just love how this proves for Kamala just how aligned her mother and her father are in their beliefs and sort of, their ideals of, if you choose family, you'll never be alone. It's really lovely to hear that, both her mom and dad are giving the same advice without knowing that they gave the same advice.
Again, family is the core of this show, and, like, that's something that I can really relate to, because growing up with three brothers, my house is never a quiet place. I was never alone growing up, because I always had someone to hang out with, and that's carried on into adulthood too, where we are each other's big best friends, basically. So totally. Again, that family aspect is hitting home so well. They're really driving home how much family matters to this character, and how that's going to be a very frontal force in her reasoning to fight for what she wants to fight, believe in, and stuff like that. So I love it.
Totally. And I think it emphasizes the aspect of another part that she's sort of, we'll see, weighs heavy on her is the protection of her family as all of them start to get more and more involved with what's going on. So let's get to that wedding, though. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. I got a little misty-eyed, I'm not going to lie. Like, the moment when Amir joins the dance, I was just like, how can you not just be smiling from ear to ear?
Oh, yeah. I was beaming during that whole thing, from, like, their I do ceremony and how much fun they had there, towards that dance where everyone was getting involved, and how I agree with you. It was definitely getting a bit misty-eyed during that moment, just because it's so true how much family matters, and I love it.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, from the performances that these actors are giving off, like, just they're so in it. And I loved seeing, I can't remember, hold on 2 seconds. I loved seeing Sagar Sheikh on his Instagram posted a picture of him with the actress that plays Taisha and his wife. And he's like, I just brought my wife to my wedding. I was just like, again, you can tell that they're having so much fun doing this. And obviously the dance was incredible. I loved seeing Taisha's little brother, Gabe, who's younger here than he is in the comics. But you see he's wearing the green shalwar kameez that was the Hulk costume that was made for Kamala. And it's just, I love it. I love that, like, he's just, like, still got the padding in it and everything. And I also noticed, it was interesting, kind of a little bit of continuity. Amir grabs a bunch of cash off the plate when everyone's running away from the clandestines.
I love that aspect too. It's like, right? he's like, okay, I will choose family, but money also helps too. I mean,
yeah. And he just quickly grabs that and then runs off. I love it. So the wedding is obviously going great until Kamran shows up. and ruins everything by letting Kamala know, and also Bruno, who he keeps calling Brian, know that the clandestines are coming, and they're going to kill everyone. Everyone's going to die, he says. So she pulls the fire alarm, and everyone leaves, including the house band Brown Jovi, which is just awesome.
I want more of their songs, please.
I want to hear definitely want to hear one of their songs. We do get a taste of the Bon Jovi with "Living in a Prayer" playing over these final moments here, but I kind of wanted it to be the Brown Jovi, cover version. I think would have been really cool. Maybe we'll get that eventually. But we see here, Cameron is taken out, and Bruno's getting knocked around, and we kind of see Kamala's first big fight after that chase scene, and eventually they're surrounded, and Najma grabs Kamala's arm, and they both see a train coming towards them from a blast of light. This moment is cut short by the DODC, who used those blaster things,
stun bolts from Star Wars. Looked like
pretty much, right?
Rings, but they were almost blue. So
yes, so they use those, which I think was originally introduced. That tech was introduced in Hulk. In the first Hulk movie,
that's what there's like a cannon, the sonic cannons that they used to try and fight the Hulk. You're right. I didn't even think of that.
So they're using those things, and they basically stop and arrest everyone except for Kamala and Bruno, who escape, but not without accidentally revealing Kamala's powers to Nakia. So let's talk about this. What did you think of Kamala's first big fight in the series, and what do you think Najma meant with the line, "Why should I protect those who betray me"?
I loved the fight scene. The choreography was great, and the fact that it was over living on a prayer really had some cool moments with the beats and everything like that. So it was really fun, and I thought it actually was very well done in the sense that you got to see her starting to realize she needs to stand up and fight for herself. She can't continue to run because running will just put the people she knows in danger, type thing. As we saw Bruno get smacked around, and that's kind of what motivates her to stand up for herself. So I thought that was really cool. And going back to that line that Najma said, where she can't, why should she trust someone or help someone who betrayed her? Definitely makes me think that again, Aisha had a change of heart, or again had a family and realized that this is something she can protect, not try and get back to a home that doesn't want them. So I feel like that's going to be explored more as we go through the series.
Right, she's referring more to Aisha's bloodline through Kamala rather than Kamala herself directly, and I think that's a good call. I think her and Najma did actually see each other, another night after the ruins, even though she says they didn't. And the train they saw, that's got to be the exact train from the story that Yusuf described at the dinner table with Sana and Aisha, as it does say Karachi on it. And I do have to say, I liked the fight. I think the fight choreography was awesome. I didn't think it was cut all that well from a production standpoint. I felt it was kind of oddly shot in certain instances.
It did seem a bit jumpy and unnecessary cuts to action that maybe wasn't necessary to see. So I do agree with you there. I do like a lot. Again, it was cool seeing all the different powers. I think that was what I was taking from it. All those and weapons
we got the embiggened fist. You know what I mean? Even though it's in a different way.
It's obviously I'll allow it. I will allow it.
Yeah. Oh, especially when she clears the entire room with it is so cool.
Yeah, she's starting to figure out how she can fight these things, use her powers to fight and stuff like that. And I think that's really neat because so far what we've seen is how to use them to protect people and how to use them to get around. So now we're finding how to affect the people that are trying to hurt her. So it's a really cool growth of the character that happens really quickly through the kitchen to the dance floor fight scene. It was neat.
Totally, and I think there's a really great, as far as the shots in the show, there's a fantastic shot that actually reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park, where Kamala's leaning up against one of the kitchen preparation tables or whatever, and there's this flickering flash of light as Najma starts approaching, and that was freaky. I really thought that was well shot. So listen, we're coming to the end here. We see Kamala make it home. Amir and Taisha are just absolutely distraught in the background. That's such a sad, like, it was such a good wedding and that happened. And Kamala's parents are extremely disappointed with the fact that Kamala is keeping secrets. And I think her mom is even more disappointed about the secret keeping. I think because she's also keeping some secrets from Kamala, which obviously we can get into. But later, Kamala up in her room gets another really close-up FaceTime call from Sana, from Nani, who tells her she too saw the train and she needs to come to Karachi. Which brings us to the end of the episode, as well as our prediction segment for what's going to be revealed in the future of this series and in the next episode. For this Watch Club, we like to call it, this may be a stretch, but... So, Darcy, why do you think Kamala's Nani wants her to come to Karachi so much?
Well, this may be a stretch, but not really much of a stretch, because I think, obviously, she's going to go to Karachi, and we're going to get some more backstory. Like, clearly, these powers are genetic, and the bangle isn't necessarily required to unlock them, or maybe just having come in contact with it once means you're forever connected to it, or something like that.
Right. Like, yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why Nani sent the bangle in the first place. So I feel like hopefully we'll get an answer as to why she sent that to Kamala, or at least to the house across the pond type thing.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, this may be a stretch, but I think you're totally right. I think obviously we talked about the idea of the bloodline. Kamala's mom is in that bloodline. I think she would have definitely seen the train as well, and I think that's the big thing is she knows Kamala is lying to her. She knows what's going on, and that's what's even more disappointing to her, is that she feels like she's not that Kamala isn't trusting of her, and the unfortunate part is that's not it at all. It's that Kamala doesn't want to put her in danger, and Kamala has no idea that her own mom is probably experiencing and understands what she's going through.
Especially with the way that her mom hates talking about her grandmother, like Aisha, like she doesn't want her brought up at all. She's kind of the stain on the family history. So I feel like that alone also leads Kamala to want to keep this to herself, because she knows that her mom, it's connected to her mom's side of the family, and her mom has a problem with her grandmother. So it's totally. I feel like it definitely stems from that. And you again, all these characters' choices and emotions are understandable, and you can see the reason behind why they feel and think the way they do. So it's very well written in that regard.
I'm really digging it. And listen, I think you're right. I think we're going to Karachi. We've seen it in the trailers already. I think we're going to have Nani tell the story that we heard, but it's going to be from her perspective. And I think it'll probably maybe be a little more accurate as well.
Well, I think it'll be about how her mother saved her, for sure. Like, I think that's what happened on that train.
Totally. And I think that's what Najma is talking about when she talks about the betrayal. It's obviously the moment that Sana was given the bangle, and I think we're going to end next week's episode with the reveal of the Red Dagger. I think that's where we're going to get his first appearance. He's just going to be like a quick flash in the pan moment, and then for episode 5, he'll have a bigger part. And then leading into episode 6. That's all I have for my stretchy thoughts. I think, everything I mentioned earlier with all the Wen-Wu stuff, I think that was really where the majority of my theories came. And I was like, I can't save that till the end of this podcast to talk about. So that was kind of that. Now, let's get to our overall thoughts and kind of our score on a scale, which we're going to actually do on a scale of 1 to 5 Secret Hostess cherry pies.
Again, I've been talking about how I really liked the fight scenes. I like the story that they've done with the Jinn, everything like that. And they're really planting the seeds for, again, that family-centered story. But why you fight is to protect your family, which is a great message. I really relate to it, and I think it was really cool. Now, something that has been growing on me and kind of nagging me throughout this whole series is actually Iman Vellani's acting. It's a bit Disney Channel-ish for me, where it's almost too over the top, it's too hyped up. So that takes me out of it a bit, but everything else about the show is so well written and so well thought out that I'm willing to ignore the slight flaws I see in her acting performance. So that's not going to take away from my score on the episode itself, because again, it's so well written that I'm able to look past those things that I find a bit annoying. I'm probably going to have to give this one a solid 3.7. No, I'm going to bump that up to a 4. A solid 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Secret Hostess Cherry Pies. Because again, I love the writing that they're doing. The story they're telling is really cool, and I'm really excited to see what's in store for this character.
Totally. And I got to say, Iman Vellani, she's Canadian. I think, seeing her in the MCU is awesome. I think to your point about the aspect of her sort of Disney Channel level acting, I think it's divisive. I think it's gonna work for a lot of people. It's not gonna work for others. For me, I kind of really dig it. I love those shows, and it kind of works for me.
I totally get it. I'm not saying anything wrong with the people who do love her acting, because again, there's a lot there to love. It's just not my cup of tea. And again, I still really enjoy this show despite that fact.
Totally. We're at the halfway point with this episode being episode 3. I think, we knew that the show would probably have to hit a point where it dipped a little bit. I think this is the episode where it does that. I think there's a bit of exposition dumping through dialogue, where in episode especially episode 2, I felt like they kind of built the world out more by showing rather than telling. And I think that's a little bit more of a nuanced way. Listen, I get it. They're at the halfway point. They need to speed this story along. They've got some big ideas that they need to get across to us with a lot of lore. And so I completely understand, kind of falling back on that idea of just having a character that explains a lot of stuff. I just think they've done it in nuanced ways before. I think if you're writing a series and you only have 6 episodes, that's going to make it harder. So I don't fault them as much for that, but maybe bump it up to 8 episodes and show that in a more nuanced way to keep the quality up there. But that said, this was a fantastic episode. We got to see more from her, as you said, of her family. We got to see more from her culture that I literally was tearing up. I love the moment where she hugs Nakia after she finds out that she made it onto the board for the mosque. I think it's gorgeous. And I honestly, the wedding scene alone brought my score up from where it was. It was so beautiful. And I think the opening sequence, when we talk about nuanced writing that shows and doesn't tell, that opening flashback sequence was awesome and sparked a ton of questions that connect to the broader MCU. And that got me more excited than pretty much, other than the wedding, anything else that happened in the episode. Overall, I'm going to give this episode a solid 4 out of 5 Secret Hostess Cherry Pies. Don't tell Kamala's mom, okay? We're going to eat those secret cherry pie. I just love the syntheticness of them all. I think that's what he says.
I totally understand that aspect too, because Hostess makes some dang good cupcakes.
Yeah, that will live longer than a gin. They'll live longer than a gin. All right, well, that's it for this week's episode of Watch Club for Marvel's Miss Marvel. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or your predictions on the shows we cover in Watch Club, well, you can stretch out your fingers and reach us by email at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com, or over on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, and on Instagram at wearegeekcentric. Keep in mind, we have a ton of other episodes covering the latest and greatest shows and movies out now, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for both The Man from Toronto and The Sea Beast, which are both on Netflix, as well as Disney and Pixar's Lightyear, which we also have interviews for with Lightyear director Angus MacLean, producer Galen Sussman, and composer Michael Giacchino, out right now. And we've got more interviews with directors Adil and Bilal, who directed episodes 1 and 6 of Miss Marvel. And that was a really fun one. They were so hyped with Justin. And if you're enjoying this Watch Club, well, listen, I have a message from a wonderful princess who put a message into a droid. And she's telling me to tell you that you need to check out our other Watch Club that we literally just wrapped as of this latest finale episode for Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we discussed the finale. I'm not going to spoil anything here. Obviously, you'd have to tune in and check that out. But because of getting all that coverage for Obi-Wan. We also had the opportunity to interview series director Deborah Chow and frickin' Anakin Skywalker himself, Hayden Christensen. Absolutely incredible. There's a really sweet moment between Justin and Hayden where they discuss Star Wars fatherhood. So you have to check that out. Darcy, what was it like at the red carpet premiere? Seeing that, give us a little bit. Obviously, we did talk about it during the Watch Club finale that I want people to check out. But just give us a taste. What was one of the highlights from that red carpet premiere for the finale?
I think what really solidified it was just seeing like the Deborah Chow and Hayden Christensen got on stage to speak about the experience they had with the show and what it means to watch it with their hometown family. And it was really cool and surreal to see that. Also, the fact that you and I saw it the first time on the big screen in Anaheim, and then I got to finish the series on the big screen here in Toronto. It was a really cool way to end what I thought was a really cool story. So that was really fun.
So good. Definitely check out our full thoughts and coverage for the event on our Instagram, on our socials, and of course those interviews. You can catch little clips of them on our Twitter as well. Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for yet again another wonderful Watch Club. And as we say, cosmic.